Alrighty, so got a new video here, and it's going to test what would happen if Russia launched a surprise first strike against NATO. How devastating would it be? And we're going to look at different missile types, and I'm even including, because every time I've made a video about Russia and nuclear weapons, somebody's brought up the Satan II, the Sarmat RS-28. So I'm going to include that in here. Based on the Federation of something or another, the Bulletin of the Atomic Scientist, Russian Nuclear Forces 2023. They have approximately 34 SS-18M6 Satan launchers. They're deployed in 1988. They have approximately 7 SS-19M4 launchers deployed in 2019. Approximately 18 mobile SS-27 Mod 1s. The Russian designation for those would be RS-28M1. 60 SS Mod 1s and silos. Those would be the RS-12M2. 171 SS-27 Mod 2 mobiles. And 22 SS-27 Mod 2s. And then they currently is no real projections on the Satan II RS-28. They allegedly were first deployed in September, and there's no hard and fast numbers. Best guess I put at was, I'm doing basically 5 with 10 MIRVs at 500 kiloton warheads. So, in this attack, using approximately 10% of their forces against the United Kingdom, 10% France, 5% Germany, and then 60% the United States. They're going to be holding back 15% of their forces for potential follow-on strikes and or defense. So, targeting is about a 50-50 chance. I am reserving the SARMATS RS-28s for population centers. So, getting ready to launch. Gonna have a good old time. For some reason, I don't know why I constantly get these comments like this is something that I think would be a good thing or something, or that humans are staying on evolution, or, there's no such thing as this or whatever. This is meant to be educational, to give an idea, both grounded in somewhat level of realism, as much as a simulation can be considered realism. A lot of people say, well, this and that. Simulations are not meant to predict what will happen. It's meant to predict what could happen based on certain scenarios. And so, apologize. A little bit of that sound. I should have edited that out, but I didn't. I don't get paid to do this, so you're going to deal with sound sometimes. So here's the main body of the attack against the United States. They're going to be striking both silos and some cities and military bases and everything in between. A lot of people have said, well, they're just going to target cities. They're not going to target, military locations. The whole point, unless you're completely suicidal and just want the end of the world, and even the most brutal dictators tend to want to stay alive, you want to limit the enemy's ability to strike back. That's why almost all their targets were locations with opposing nuclear forces. So let's do United States is launching some strike backs, but we're going to take a look, and this is before the SARMATS. So this is based on what we kind of know versus what's potential. And no, I didn't include any of the Poseidons or I made a video about these nuclear tsunami things. They're not deployed as far as anyone can tell. And there's a lot of hype around them that's not reality. So right now, got almost 34 million German casualties, almost 23 million UK casualties, 14 million United States, 10 million France. And when you look at it, largely it's driven by the condensing of the population in some of these areas like Germany and UK, and the fallout. You look at the United States, just much bigger geographical area. The fallout is not as great. A lot of the silos are not going to be based near population centers. So not quite as bad, casualty-wise, and certainly percentage of casualties per population. So here, to make everybody happy that wants to keep bringing up these SARMATs, I'm going to go 500 kiloton yields. Each location, consider it MIRVed. 200 meter accuracy. Now, mind you, outside of them just saying they've operationally deployed, we don't really know they deployed. It's not one available currently in the sim, so I'm just having to create it basically. Well, there's one that says SS-29, so I guess they did have it on hindsight. I should have caught that, but I didn't. Oh well. And besides, it's only got one warhead, so it's not a very good accurate representation. So these are 10 MIRVs coming down on Washington, D.C., doing 5 total launches. On New York City. Sorry for some of my New Yorker co-workers. $10 for Dallas. And I even like Dallas, but you know. $10 for Los Angeles. I didn't want the Chicago to feel left out. I could have varied this up. I could have varied the heights, surface, air, but I didn't. I feel like this is already a gift to Russia based on what they claim versus what we know. It's believed their last test in February failed. It was unsuccessful. So a lot of questions around that. I kept it to 5. We don't know, and I looked as best I could tell. There was no known numbers on how many they had. Recalculating the casualties now, and what you're going to find with those SARMATs, if they'd all live up to the hype, even a small number, it almost doubled the United States casualties. Of course, it was going out to population centers in some of those heavily populated areas, so it's not a big surprise that they would increase casualties quite a bit. I didn't really factor in the bombers. My firm belief is that a lot of the bombers would be intercepted, both through air defense units and, in the United States, you'd have the F-16s and the F-15s, which are currently being replaced by the F-15EX. Most bombers are pretty slow, heavy moving, and they would be heavily targeted. The United States probably have a little more success if they were able to get them off the ground before their bases were hit with the B-2 stealth bombers, and potentially in short order the B-21 Raider. So after the United States with retaliatory strikes with what their surviving forces would be, Russia would suffer, got to scroll up, roughly almost 7 million casualties. So it was a very limited retaliatory strike. I did basically, this is a worst case scenario. This is somebody didn't wake up the president in time. You got about 30 minutes from launch to when it strikes, and they were able to hit us before we were able to launch retaliatory strikes. In reality, more than likely, we'd be launching our own silos, and we would be hitting back before most of their stuff. Some of their sub-launch missiles, it's going to be shorter times. Depends on how close they can get to the coast with their subs. If they were to get very close, it could be reaction times 5-10 minutes. But their silos aren't moving. Their mobile launchers are going to move within their country, but they're not going to be moving, from that country. It's 30 minutes, start to finish is a rough guideline. It's a short amount of time. It's going to have to be detected, early warning radars, satellites, so detection, notification of the president, staff, and then he's got to make a quick decision. Are these legitimate launches? Is there a glitch in the system? It's not a lot of time to figure this out. And if you get it wrong, we're all having a bad day. And so in this scenario, they didn't get it in time. And so they were able to get off a first strike. Our amount of retaliatory strike was limited. We were still hitting some military targets to limit any follow-on strikes. We could have targeted cities and caused more casualties. Again, if this is a game of who's causing the most casualties, well, we all lose. There is a strategy behind, a believed to be strategy. I'm not part of the Russian military cabinet or the United States for that matter, but their book I recommend, Evolution of Nuclear Strategy. There's a strategy, counterforce. The idea is that you're going to try to take out as much military and industrial capacity of the enemy while limiting the loss of your own military and industrial capacity. It's not about just sheer terror and causing the most casualties possible. It used to be closer to that kind of design because they were not as accurate that you could accurately target locations without these massive warheads and hope to destroy them. Doesn't mean cities won't be targeted, and there's a lot of industry in cities. You have major ports in Los Angeles, New York, along the coast. Chances are it depends on number of warheads. So right now, as best we can believe, there's about 1,674 warheads in the Russian forces deployed. Not all of those are going to have the capacity to reach the United States. And they have another reserve of 2,800 and about 1,400 that are waiting dismantlement for a total of close to 6,000 warheads. And some of those are strategic, some of those are theater level. So if I say there's a lot of warheads, but the idea that every city is going to be targeted is kind of a falsehood. Say a Richmond, Kentucky, 30,000 people. Chances are we're probably not going to get a warhead dedicated to us. There's going to be higher priority targets. There's going to be some desire to be left around some level to hold back for follow-on strikes or anything else that could happen. No country would want to deplete their forces completely because you might have a state like a China that may not be involved in this and their nuclear forces are completely untouched. And so would Russia want to expend all of it and then leave themselves vulnerable? So there's a lot of, just like the United States, so there's a lot of things that go into the strategy behind a nuclear strike or nuclear retaliation. Anyways, that's the video. Hope you enjoy it. Hope it doesn't happen. But that's a baseline of how devastating a nuclear first strike by Russia could be.